Hello fellow Misfortunates. So there is this one player who climbed to Diamond with a 90% win rate, and even after breaking into Challenger ELO, the win rate is still above 80%. Interestingly enough, they've been doing this exclusively spamming Misfortune, reaching global rank 1 on the Misfortune leaderboards in the process. Most conveniently for you, this rank 1 Misfortune player has been picking the same runes and the same items every single game. So if you ever wanted to copy a playstyle that can evidently produce incredible results, then this is your chance. First things first, our challenger player here is not exactly following the meta. To be fair, this is not the biggest surprise, as Misfortune is a highly flexible champion with lots of viable playstyles. She works with crit, she works with lethality, she even works with an on-hit playstyle to some degree. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Misfortune is also probably the only champion that can make a true competitive choice to either max Q first, max W first, or to max E first. While the meta playstyle is to go for Q max with Youmuu's Ghostblade, our rank 1 player always buys very specific crit items and combines them with a W max playstyle. You go for 3 points in Q for more pressure during the lane phase, but then max W by level 10 to have maximum kiting and damage in the mid game. I also personally recommend this exact skill order not only for this, but for any possible crit Misfortune build. The rank 1 player's rune page is always Conqueror, Presence of Mind, Legend Bloodline and Coup de Grace, with Absolute Focus and Gathering Storm secondary. Their shards are double Adaptive Force and either armor or magic resist depending on the bot lane matchup. So against a traditional AD carry you pick armor, and against a bot lane mage you click the subscribe button and pick magic resist. Overall, this rune page is very interesting as it has both some amazing strengths but also some notable drawbacks. Let's start with the Keystone. Conqueror is quite strong during the mid and late game, while its uses are highly limited during the lane phase. Obviously, this rune is not picked for its healing effect, and you will rarely get to maximum stacks anyway, but for its ramping attack damage bonus. You can think of it like the old fervor of battle mastery on Misfortune. Well, if you remember these ancient times. Raw attack damage is by far the strongest stat you can get on this champion, since Misfortune has both very low base AD and crazy AD conversion rates at the same time. Your passive, your Q, your auto attack of course, and most notably your ultimate scales with attack damage incredibly hard, and you also have an attack speed steroid on your W on top of that. The more attack damage you can get, the more effective Misfortune becomes, and this rune page is designed with exactly this concept in mind. In fact, with Absolute Focus and double adaptive shards in combination with your passive, you have enough damage to reliably last hit minions under your tower with just a single Doran's Blade. This is a huge advantage to have in a solo queue match because you do not need to rely on your support to set up your last hits at any point in the game. You are completely autonomous in a sense. Now the issue with Conqueror is that it kinda forces you to spam your abilities to get stacks more quickly. Misfortune's mana pool is naturally quite limited, so you need to sacrifice another rune slot to take care of your mana sustain. This is quite the significant downside, since picking Presence of Mind locks you out of picking Overheal. And Overheal is simply the strongest minor rune for Misfortune in the entire game, which is especially true for W max builds. The reason for this is the special interaction between Misfortune's W and shielding effects. W gives you tons of free movement speed, which helps you to roam faster, but also to chase and kite. However, you lose this movement speed as soon as you take damage. This is where Overheal comes into play, because as long as you are shielded, you technically don't take any damage. So even if you get hit by minions, champions or towers, your movement speed bonus will remain when the damage is absorbed by Overheal. This makes Misfortune incredibly tough to deal with, and because she converts lifesteal very efficiently with her Q and her passive, Legend Bloodline by itself is already enough to reap Overheal's full benefits. While this Misfortune player evidently has a lot of success at an extremely high level of play, the first thing I would do to optimize their build would be to get rid of Presence of Mind in favor of Overheal. This unhealthy reliance on abilities is not even the only issue with Conqueror, by the way. While the Keystone looks good in a vacuum, it, in reality, directly competes against the rune Press the Attack. On Misfortune, Press the Attack is undeniably way stronger than Conqueror during the early game. But what about the mid and late game? This is actually super difficult to evaluate, since Conqueror doesn't show you how much bonus damage you've dealt with it, but instead how much you've healed. And who needs that, seriously? So I did what any sane person would do and sifted through a ton of challenger replays to draw a viable conclusion. And the results were nothing short of astonishing. It turns out that even in Challenger, ADC players who pick Press the Attack on Misfortune habitually forget to trigger their Keystone. This happens by either misplacing their Q bounces, prematurely swapping targets with love tap, or by pressing R way too early. Consequentially, press the attack has a deflated win rate. Conqueror, on the other hand, requires no cognitive effort whatsoever. The rune is just always there for you, and you do not need to remind yourself to actually use it. So the answer to the question goes as follows. If you are smart enough a player to remember how to apply press the attack, then press the attack is always the better choice. If not, then Conqueror is the better choice. No, but seriously, just get good and use press the attack properly. Anyway, enough shots fired at our rank 1 player here, and the rest of the rune page looks very good, so let's move on to the item build. This is where the real magic happens. You start out with the Doran's Blade and then buy your core items of Kraken Slayer, Berserker's Greaves and Phantom Dancer. Yes, Phantom Dancer on Misfortune. As you know, getting as much attack damage as possible is extremely important for this champion, so Zeal items are generally speaking an iffy choice at best. Additionally, Misfortune almost reaches the attack speed cap just with Kraken Slayer, Boots and her W in the late game, so buying more attack speed means you simply end up wasting your gold. However, Phantom Dancer has very specific synergies with the aforementioned rune page. Most notably, the item provides you with tons of in-combat movement speed, which allows you to stick to your target and freely stack up Conqueror without them getting away. On top of that, our challenger player picked every single attack damage rune available, while at the same time not picking any attack speed. Without attack speed from runes, Misfortune can buy up to 130% bonus attack speed with items before overcapping in the late game. Yes, it says 230% here, but we assume you press your W while auto-attacking, which already provides 100% bonus attack speed by itself. So a full build Kraken Slayer grants an additional 65% and Berserker's Greaves 35%. And because this player neither has the attack speed shard nor legend alacrity, including a Phantom Dancer here doesn't even force you to overcap right away. Only once you get 4 stacks on your Spectral Walls passive in tandem with activating your W do you lose out on some value when you are sitting on 6 items. By the way, in 95% of all games you won't even play until 6 items. Long story short, the rune page allows Phantom Dancer to shine by maximizing synergies while minimizing stat loss in the late game. And Phantom Dancer also comes with a huge benefit of being a cheap 2600 gold item, allowing you to get your power spikes much earlier than usual. After these core items, our player typically buys Bloodthirster, Infinity Edge and Lord Dominic's Regards, and in the very late game they sell their boots for Guardian Angel. With Bloodthirster, they finally do end up getting a shield to protect their W passive, which makes kiting much easier as well as having additional protection against enemy burst damage of course. Now this player buys Infinity Edge before Lord Doms, which is definitely a mistake in literally all matchups. This is because even the squishiest targets will have a substantial amount of armor simply by leveling up. It's merely a math problem and the numbers don't lie. So the good news is the specific rune and item choices are the easiest for you to directly copy and implement into your own games. The bad news is that solid runes and items won't help you much without solid in-game decision-making skills. But no worries, in this next part I will show you exactly what a rank 1 player does at every stage of the game so you can too carry your team to victory. As you probably know, Misfortune is very strong during the early game. Especially in a matchup like Vayne Senna, who both scale harder than Misfortune does, you have to abuse your early power with love taps and double ups to gain an advantage right away. Before level 6, Vayne can't do much back to you, so if you simply line up your poke with your support, you will end up getting lane priority. Keep in mind that you do not need to get the minion execute crit with your Q to make good use of it. Any damage is good damage, and using healthy minions for a non-crit bounce also makes your attacks less predictable. So much for theory, but if your support overextends and dies, there is not much you can do about it of course. Anyway, due to your health advantage, you should still be able to keep up the pressure. However, if your jungler isn't nearby, you have to make sure to keep up vision in the river so you don't get caught in a 3 vs 1 by a roaming enemy. In any case, after converting your health advantage into a gold and item advantage, you should not be afraid to take a 2v2 skirmish in lane. Vayne made the mistake here of trying to force a fight before she unlocks her powerful ultimate, which could have given her the upper hand in situations like these. So even despite Soraka playing suboptimally, MissFortune was able to completely dominate her lane, and her enemies are now forced to stay under tower. This is exactly how you get the snowball rolling and prevent late game hypercarries like Vayne to get out of hand. Blue team has no choice but to let their bot lane tower fall, which opens up the map for MissFortune to bring her advantage to other lanes as well. Simply push the minions past the river and then go for a recall or a roaming play. In this situation, MissFortune decides to lane swap with her mid laner. Mid lane towers are the most important objectives on the map because they are crucial sources of vision towards both sides of the jungle. If you manage to take down the opposing mid lane tower while keeping your own intact, you automatically get Baron and Dragon control for that reason. MissFortune simply keeps pushing the wave and chipping away at the tower because Vex and her jungler have no chance of winning a 2v2 at this point. Doesn't mean they wouldn't try though. From here, you simply rinse and repeat until mid lane tower is gone. The mantra of push past river roam always applies of course, but at this point MissFortune is so far ahead that she can even dare to pressure the tier 2 tower. As long as Soraka is backing her up, there is little the enemy can do about it. This is a perfect example of extending your lead as much as possible while you still have it. A low elo player might not know what to do and simply AFK farm, allowing Vayne to get back into the game, which means you likely still lose in the late game. Anyway, losing 2 mid lane towers is absolutely disastrous for the opponent, as this makes it impossible for them to enter their jungle or even to defend their side lane towers. Blue team can't even hope to contest Dragon at this point, but somehow that doesn't stop them from trying. With mistakes like these, their chance for a comeback is getting smaller and smaller. If you ever find yourself in a situation similar to that of Blue team here, you have to bide your time, cut your losses and hope that the enemy overextends under your inhibitor towers. Everything else just won't work, and this is simply your best shot. If you don't realize this and instead stubbornly try to contest the jungle, then this will happen. Yeah, MissFortune is low-key trolling here, but she still keeps the jungler busy, and most of blue team is dead, so red team ends up with a free Baron. This makes the aforementioned turtling strategy infinitely harder to execute. Not that it matters, because blue team is just tilted beyond repair and they straight up choose to run it down, it seems. Even had they managed to kill MissFortune here, they still would be unable to hold their base afterwards. By the way, I've recently tested this build on my gameplay channel, so if you are interested in my educational live commentary, then click the link on your screen right there.